welcome to another episode with the podcast guys. I am Nando.
And I am Roberto.
So, for today's topic
is going to be why men don't want to commit. Let's face it, not every guy gets into dating with the intention of getting married or having kids, or, you know, a guy may be dating a girl casually, but he really has. Not all guys are looking to settle down and get into a long-term serious relationship. Some guys just don't want to commit. So I think this one, I think women may be interested in this one as well, to see our side of the story. So let's get into it.
Yeah, and the first reason why men don't want to commit is simply put because he only wants sex.
How dare you?
Let's face it, guys, we like beauty. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they like to say. And the thing is that when you see a beautiful woman, attractive woman, you want to take her out, dinner, dance, some sort of date, and then eventually it leads to sex. So that's something that just naturally all guys, not all, can't use all, but most guys going about after a date with a woman. That's
the guys that don't want to commit most likely they just don't want to play the field, and it could be any age. They could be 20, 30. They could be, I know guys that are 40 years old, and they're just not interested in getting married. So the main reason why is they're going to want to play the field. That's what they're enjoying. That's what they're having the most fun with. And, I know that women will hear this and kind of bash guys and say like, oh, you're immature. It has nothing to do with immaturity or maturity. If a guy doesn't want commitment, then why would he commit? You know what I mean? The worst thing a guy could do is just commit out of pressure, just commit because he's expected to. If he doesn't want that, that's not something that he's pursuing. It's not something that he enjoys. If he commits to that woman, it's gonna end up in divorce, or he's gonna have a miserable experience anyway. So I would say that's top on the list. It's just some guys want to play the field and they're happy where they are with that.
The thing is that guys pursue sex.
How dare you?
Guys are physical beings. They like that. They like just to have fun with women, and they see sex as being something that is fun for them. So, again, it's something natural, something guys like to do. Ladies may be offended by that because they think, I'm just a piece of meat. And that's not the case. It's just guys have a natural feeling to have sex with women, women that they like.
Another reason that he may want to play the field is guys also have other priorities. If you're talking about a guy that's on his purpose, that he's working on something, work-related, business-related, a project, and it's really time-consuming, and that's what he's focused on, he's not going to want to necessarily give that up to just jump into a marriage because he's in his late 30s or early 40s or what have you. Maybe what he has going on in his life right now is a priority over that. So it is what it is.
Before we get into priorities, a reason why men don't want to commit is, just as you said before, they want to play the field. Now, the reason why they want to play the field is because men aren't satisfied by one woman. And again,
how dare you?
I know this is going to get some hate, but again, women satisfy men, but men like multiple partners. So a guy is going to tell himself, well, I see this woman. Is she worth committing to? Maybe. But does that take me away from the other options that are out there, the other women that are out there? And if men see that as a negative, then he may not commit to you.
What happens sometimes? Attractive women will have a high body count between the ages of 18 and 30 because that's their time where they were able to just sleep around and enjoy that time period. They did it too, right? The difference is that guys don't really get that option sometimes, so they get a little older and they get a little bit more, their finances straight, they get physically in shape, they have to mature more, and sometimes guys don't really start getting that going till later in life. So they want to also experience that and maximize on it, right? When you ask women, hey, why did you sleep with so many guys in your 20s? Oh, well, they'll start making up all different types of reasons, but they did it. Okay, so, we say this all the time. Women tend to peak sexually in their early 20s. Guys peak in their mid-30s. So that's why you have guys that are in their mid-30s that don't, not all guys, but there's guys in their 30s and 40s that are still not like really enticed by marriage, because they're like, I kind of like where I am now, and I'm just you like the freedom and the being able to play the field and have options and have that peace to come home and continue whatever you're focused on.
We're ripping on the guys here a little bit, but what women don't realize is that women don't like to commit either. And when you ask them, well, what's your body count? And some women are like 1, 5, 10. I'm celibate.
Stop the cap.
Ladies, stop lying. Stop the cap. Because women tend to have a much higher body count than men do.
Easily.
And
much higher, yeah.
And we're not talking about like 20 or 30. We're talking about 50, 60, hundreds. And again,
How dare you?
you'll be offended by that, but it's true.
So think about it. Why would a guy that maybe slept with 10 to 15 women marry a woman and commit to her if she's already slept with 70 to 100 guys? He should have that opportunity too, right? If we're gonna talk about equality, all BS aside, guys also want to experience that, and that's what guys really. That's the benefit in with interacting with women in general, is that we're sexually driven. You could maybe commit to a woman that makes you happy and like she's checking all your boxes, and if you're happy, I guess go for it. I know some guys will disagree with me and say, oh, I've been happily married. If you're happily married, great. This podcast isn't for happily married people that have been together for 20 years. We're talking about, this is really, our target audience is really single guys, right? So let's get into another point. Some guys won't commit just purely from there being too much pressure for them to commit. And these are going to be mostly the guys that have been dating a girl for 2, 3, 4 years, what have you. And now that pressure starts to come in, like, are you going to get me a ring? Are we buying a house? Are we going to have kids? And that pressure alone sometimes may be enough to scare the guy off.
Ladies, it's not best to pressure men to commit in that way. Sometimes with threats. Oh, if you don't put a ring on my finger, then we're going to break up. What kind of woman are you trying to do that to a guy that you supposedly have feelings for, that you love? If you want to grow a future together, there has to be a mutual commitment to one another to be able to grow into a long-term relationship or a marriage. Now, the thing is that if the woman is all for it, but the guy maybe for it, but not quite ready yet, why pressure him? Why not enjoy what you have instead of pressuring into something that could be more or less manufactured, something fake?
And I've seen this happen multiple times over the years, where a guy and a girl were dating and everything was fine. They were always together. They were happy, spending a lot of time together. And then all of a sudden the guy just like dipped on her. And it's because of that pressure to get married. And that guy just said, you know what, if this is what it's going to be, I'm just out. Like I can't handle this pressure to buy a ring and have kids and have the wedding and all that stuff, because maybe that guy just doesn't want that. Look, the reality is some women are fun to date. You could date for years and have a great relationship and be happy, but he may not either want marriage for one, or he may not see you as a wife. The opposite could be true. Some women will make great wives, but maybe he's just not attracted to you, or you may be a great wife, but he's still not looking to have a family or something along those lines. So, that's the reality. Is like, guys, we could date. If you're happy with a girl, you could date her for years. You're not gonna necessarily cheat or break up or leave her or anything like that. But when that pressure to get married and have kids comes along, if you're not ready for that in your life and that's not what you want, you're gonna probably exit.
And at the end of the day, you putting pressure on a guy will have an adverse effect on the goal that you have in mind. Your goal is to get a guy to commit to you, not just to a relationship, but to a marriage. You want a ring on that finger. You want the house. You want the kids. You want the life of a wife. So you pressuring him is going to have an adverse effect because it's not going to bring him to want that. It's going to just simply push him away and likely cause the relationship to break up and be over. Do you want that? All the time you put into each other? And I'm sure you're thinking as a woman, well, everything I've done for him, all the time, energy, all the love I gave him, and he wants to go about it this way? Of course not. So you may want to think twice before pressuring your man to get into some sort of marriage or relationship, whatever the case is, because you may simply just lose him.
Yeah, it's one thing to discuss it. Like if you're dating a guy for a few years and you want to sit down and discuss the future, it's one thing. But I think it's where guys will kind of lose it is where when that pressure starts to come into play. Like, are we going to do this next year? In the next 6, like when that pressure starts being laid on the guy over and over again, and he has to keep hearing this over and over again, he's probably just gonna, some guys will just ghost their girlfriend because of the pressure of marriage, and then they're left wondering, like, oh, what happened? That's what happened. You put pressure on him to do something that he didn't want to do. He was happy with you. He was happy with the relationship, but because you put pressure on him to get married and have kids, or even just get married, he left.
Absolutely, you push him away and you'll have to start over with another guy.
Because what option does that guy have? Is he going to really sit there and have a conversation as to why he doesn't want to get married? Like that's not going to end well anyway. So,
yeah, I mean, you have your reasons to want to commit, but he has his reasons why he doesn't want to commit, which is what we're discussing today. And we'll discuss another one. And another reason why he doesn't want to commit to you, he may not want to commit to you, is because you're simply not enough to commit into.
Yeah, he just might not be into you in that sense. Like I said earlier, guys will look. I've had previous relationships where I dated a girl for a year, 2, 3, but I knew in the back of my head the entire time that I would not marry her. Every guy's had that experience. You're dating a girl, you could be with her for years, but at the end of the day, no matter how this ends up, I'm not marrying this girl. I've dated girls that were attractive, that I had a lot of fun spending time with, but I knew they were crazy, and I wouldn't marry them. I wouldn't have kids with them.
And you know what? Some women may be a good time. They may be fun on the sexual level, sexual intimacy level, and all that. But the thing is that on the serious level, on the serious relationship level, and the marriage level, he just may not see it. He just may not see it. And you might not get commitment from him because of that reason.
Looking back at it, all of my exes, right? I could have had kids. I could have committed. I could have had a marriage with them. All of them except one that comes to mind. All of them are now single moms. Some of them are single moms with multiple kids, with multiple partners. Some of them had a kid and they just ended up staying single. They broke up with the guy. Some of them went back in and started dating someone else. But all of them except one are single moms. And that brings me to the next point, is that why another reason guys don't want to commit is because they know the risk involved. Guys are becoming more and more aware of the divorce stats, right? In the US, it's roughly 50%. So by committing to you, by getting married to you, they're flipping a coin. There's a 50% chance that this is not going to work out. No matter how great the relationship was going, there's still a 50% chance that they're going to get divorced. And there's a 100% chance that if you get divorced, they're going to have to pay child support and deal with all the negative sides of breaking up. So
I would just change that 100%. I think there's a little under that they may have to give up everything, because I've seen cases where some women do have to pay. But
yeah, but it's
very
that's
small.
usually only if the woman makes more than the man. So
yeah, and you heard that story about that one famous guy who put everything under his mom's name, and she officially made more money
there you
than
go.
him, and then he was able to
So it goes to show
get
you
money from her.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And that goes to show you that that guy anticipated that this was going to happen. That was a strategic move on his part to move that money into his mom's account and not have that money in his own account, because he knew in the back of his head that there's a high likelihood that he was going to get divorced. And I would say, if anything, successful guys are probably at the highest risk of getting taken advantage of in that way. Most guys, when they get divorced, it's just the woman got bored of him or she's no longer happy with him and she wants to end the relationship. But because of the way the laws work, most of the time you're going to have to pay child support, and she's going to move on to somebody else, and you're going to be, back at square one, looking for somebody else, paying for child support, and she's going to just have those benefits from you. So
it's funny they're calling that guy a legend, because you don't really hear something like that ever happening. It's pretty unheard of. That.
Yeah, I think times are changing. I mean, I think as time goes along, guys are going to start to play it a little differently, because I think men generally are also tired of getting taken advantage of in that sense. And everybody always says, sign a prenup, but there's ways around prenups. Prenups don't guarantee that she's not going to get, at the end of the day, to take advantage of you financially, because there's loopholes. And, depending how long you live together, and if you had kids together, and if you have a mutual, there's different ways where in court you could still get really screwed over. So
yeah, prenups don't really hold up in court.
No.
I mean, you can sign a prenup, but you're taking a risk still. You're not out of the woods. So
no, it's definitely not like a foolproof thing. I think people will there's a misconception that having a prenup is like oh, I'm definitely safe now. It's not the case at all.
I'm sure it does something for you. I'm sure there's some sort of protection, but to an extent, there's not a full absolute protection that you're going to be fine and you're going to not have to pay alimony and child support and all that. So that's something I would be careful with the prenup, and not just kind of dive into that and feel like you're safe. So just be careful with that. And on that note, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. We are the Podcast Guys, which is what I just wanted to say. We are the Podcast Guys on YouTube. We're on Rumble. Support the channel, guys. We're here putting ourselves out there as always and giving you everything we can, and we're getting some appreciation for it, but we're also getting some hate for it, and it's all coming from good. I know things sometimes don't sound the way you'd like it to, but hey, we have to tell it like it is. We have to tell the truth. And we're doing the best we can to do that. So, and doing all the research and getting as much information for you as possible to be able to give you the insights of, in this case for today, reasons why men don't want to commit. So let's move on to another one. And another reason why men don't want to commit is because there's somebody else involved. So
Yeah.
what's your take on that? Somebody else being involved. There's a guy with a woman. They may be talking. They may be dating casually, whatever the case may be. Just about to get into a relationship. They're thinking about it, but the guy is weary to do so because of the fact that he's got some other people in his roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think simply put, some guys cheat, right? Everybody knows that. So a guy could be in a serious relationship and he might be seeing somebody on the side, or he might be sleeping around, and for that reason he may not want to commit to whoever he's dating, because in the back of his head he knows he's not ready to commit. Obviously, if he's talking to other people on the side. So, this one can obviously go both ways. Both men and women can do that and cheat and have somebody on the side. But this is definitely a possibility, is that a guy could be dating a girl for a while and she may be completely oblivious to it, that he's talking to somebody on the side and he's just not ready to commit to one person. So
the thing is that when a man has options, does he really want to lose those options for one person? One person that can turn around and one day tell him it's over and I'm going to go my way, you're going to go your way. So what does he do? Then he has zero. He has to start from ground up again and build those potential future relationships that he wants.
I know I'll get hate for saying this, but generally speaking, when it comes to when it comes to marriage, there's more incentive on the female side than on the male side to get married.
How dare you?
The woman gets the ring and the wedding and the honeymoon and the kids, and the guy. There's a lot in it for her. If you get divorced, she still gets the child support or the alimony. There's not really all that in it. I mean, think about it. If a guy's dating a girl for a few years, there's really not much difference for him to just continue dating her or to marry her. If anything, the only thing that gets added into the mix is risk, because now you're throwing law into it. When you're just dating her, you're happy, everything's fine, but there's no law involved. You're not legally bound. And then you get married, and now you have a whole list of, depending on what state you're in, you're not legally bound by contract, and there's a whole list of things that are going to happen if the relationship doesn't work out. So again, not all guys are going to see it this way. Not all guys are going to be, hesitant to commit. I know some guys will probably watch us and disagree, but we're talking about why some guys don't want to commit, and this is why.
Yeah, I mean, marriage is something that goes the women's way without a doubt. And what advantages do guys have from it? I don't think any. Not any at all.
I mean, there is no advantage. Like getting married, what a tax break? Like there's no advantage to getting married. Traditionally, the idea of marriage was supposed to be to like commit to each other and like you say your vows and what's the saying?
Till death do us part.
Till death do us part. Great in theory, but doesn't work out too well in practice. Divorce rates are 50%. It's not our opinion. That's just the reality now. So guys are hesitant to commit for that reason, because they know if divorce rates were 10%, guys would be less worried. They would be less concerned to get married. But 50%, who wants to play by those odds? So, and at a certain point in your life, you're going to start to see other people get divorced. Your friends, your social circle, and you start to see it happen in real time. So it's like it's not just the stats. You see it happen to other people, and you're like, I'm glad that wasn't me.
And there's small arguments, small things that happen within the relationship, the marriage, that nowadays make it fall apart, because let's face it, everybody's softer than, not everybody, but most people are softer than tissue paper, if you ask me.
I said this in a previous episode, and I saw some women get triggered and like write back to me in the comments. And what I said is that women don't reward loyalty, they reward resources. And we said it in one of our shorts, and like these women like attacked us in the comments, but it's true. Why is she going to divorce you? Why is the relationship going to end? It's not, you could be as loyal as you want. You could give her the ring and the house. And how many guys got screwed over like that, where they bought her the ring, they gave her the wedding and the honeymoon and the kids, and they did everything to the T, and they still got divorced because it got to a certain point where she saw that maybe this guy wasn't enough, or this guy wasn't providing exactly what she had in mind. So she left him. Again, I can't believe we didn't even go over this yet. The topic of this episode is why men don't want to commit. At the end of the day, it's women that aren't committing, because it's women that are initiating 70% of the divorces.
They'll commit initially, but give it time, and then they'll back out. And we're talking actually 70 to 80%, maybe more than 80% of women initiating the divorces.
I always hear women say, oh, guys have commitment issues. Guys have commitment issues. Okay. But 70% of marriages are being initiated by women. I think, if anything, if we're talking about long-term, like till death do us part commitment, women have a hard time with commitment. Women like that initial commitment. They want the wedding and the kids. And like once they get everything they want out of the way, after that, it's just anything goes.
Well, women will commit to a guy that they see will provide that value. If they don't see a guy providing the value that they're looking for, then to them, what's the point of them committing to the guy?
Exactly.
So they'll start to put that pressure once they see what's in it for them.
Exactly.
But once they realize that there's nothing in it for them, then they'll just go on to the next guy.
Quick stat. The average length of a marriage in the United States prior to divorce is 8 years. That's roughly the time frame of how long people stay married for before they get divorced. 8 years. So divorce doesn't always necessarily happen a couple years into it. It could take a while, but in some cases it's inevitable. It is what it is.
So before we start winding down shortly, let's get into another reason why men don't want to commit. And that reason is because, let's rewind a little bit because you mentioned it earlier. He's got other priorities. So what are those priorities? Well, think about it. What are men bringing to the table to a woman? He's bringing value. What kind of value? Money. She wants to be protected. She'll like a guy with some social status. She'll like a guy that's confident, that dresses good, that's 6 foot tall or higher. You can't really control that. That's, how you're born and how you grow up. But all these things that women want. So what are guys doing? They're going out. They're working their normal 9 to 5, and then they're probably hustling another job or two on the side, on the weekends, at night, to make ends meet. Because nowadays, let's face it, things are tough. Things aren't easy, and we need multiple jobs. Not even to improve in our lives, but just to get by.
The economy has definitely had a big impact on all of this. Honestly speaking, because there was once a time where you could have one job and afford to take care of yourself, your wife, your kids, and the house. Houses were more affordable. So now, like you said, guys are in a position where they have to, it takes much longer to reach financial success. Some guys will never reach financial success. There was a time where a man in his 20s could afford to take care of the whole family, and now it's like you really have to work hard and constantly make more and more. And like you said, start a business or a side hustle, and it takes time to achieve financial success. So that's why you're starting to see guys that are getting married much later too. So I think women reach a point where they're ready to have a family much earlier than guys are. Women could be ready to have kids and get married in their 20s. Guys, I promise you, are not ready to have kids and get married in their 20s. Some aren't going to be ready in their 30s, depending on where they are financially and where they are in their life. But guys have other priorities, and I think it's in a man's best interest to focus on those priorities rather than just jump into some commitment just because. So,
I mean, simply put, guys just want to focus on themselves to improve themselves, because now they know. Now they know that if they put all their eggs in one basket by committing to a woman, that may fall through. And then what? What do they have?
And let's not forget, the same way that there's pressure for men to commit and get married and have kids, now more than ever in history, there's more and more pressure on men to make more and more money. We go over this on this podcast all the time. You can't make 70, 80, 90K and that's good enough. Women are now raising the bar. They want guys that make 200, 300K a year. So that takes an effect on guys as well, because they know what we're dealing with nowadays is completely different. You can't just make an average salary and get married and have kids. You have to make a certain amount to even be considered an option. So
it's crazy, and some women should be ashamed of themselves when they say, "Well, why do men work so much?"
Yeah.
Well, why do men work so much? They need to get the money so they can be able to provide you the lifestyle.
I'm glad
the house,
you said
the
that.
cars, all that stuff.
I'm glad you said that, because I've had women literally tell me, "Oh, you never take days off. You don't take enough vacations. You're always working. Your job is making you work all these hours." And I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm sorry for working hard. But this just goes to show you how different worlds we live in. Women and men live in completely different worlds. Women are going. I know women nowadays that are working at minimum wage jobs, and they're going on multiple vacations a year. Guys now have to work their ass off, and that's still not enough. You still have to keep pushing to make more and more and more. So guys have to work hard. We don't have nobody's Venmoing us money or flying us out anywhere or putting us on any yachts. That's for sure. So,
all right, guys. So before we wrap up here, hopefully you understand why, for women out there, why men don't commit, and guys out there, now we understand where you're coming from. So make sure to